What's going on, everyone? God bless and welcome to the Biblecast Christian Video Podcast. The last couple of weeks, I've been in sort of a spiritual funk, like a kind of empty slump, really. I had a very close friend of mine lose his life suddenly, and it threw me into this sort of spiritual storm. Have you ever been there where something happens and it makes you ask all kinds of questions and you just feel like hitting pause on your life for a moment to figure some things out? Many Christians go through spiritual storms at times, and I want to get into that for our topic today. Sometimes God will give you just the right sermon on Sunday to help you through what you're dealing with. And man, He gave me a great one this week to expound on, so perhaps all of us could be encouraged by through my experience. So let's get into the Word a little bit and see how to face spiritual storms on this week's episode of the Biblecast.
The quiet silence of a heart that believes itself defeated by loss, by pain, by fear. Our hope nailed to a cross, our own faith depleted, at the sight of no movement, a body inert. But it is not the end. At the sound of the gravestone rolling, a new story has unfolded. Death has been defeated. Our hope is alive. Jesus is alive. We raise our hands in victory. By His resurrection, we are set free. He blows a wind of life and brings us back to the light. He is risen. Our Messiah is alive. He breathes and the darkness trembles. He speaks and our future shines. By His sacrifice, we are now saved. By His grace, we can all rise. Here rejoicing in the sky, the grave could not hold Him. The veil has been torn. Our Christ has won over death, over sin, over ache. By His power, all chains break. He is victorious. He is the way. He is the resurrection and the life. And by His wounds, we're made alive.
Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about facing storms in our lives. There are all kinds of storms and hardships we face as Christians and things that happen to us that try to shake the faith right out of us. In the Bible, Jesus had faced the worst storm yet when His crucifixion was just around the corner, and He knew He was about to face it head on. Gethsemane, which was the name of the garden where Jesus was betrayed and arrested, ironically means hard-pressed. Well, depression means hard-pressed, right? Let's look at Jesus' state when He was walking through the Garden of Gethsemane in Matthew 26. Now, let me set this up real quick so you know what's happening here. Jesus had just had His Last Supper with the disciples, and they ventured out to the garden where they often hung out. This time, though, Jesus knew that the end was about to start, and He was about to go through the most horrible torture there was. Let's see what was happening to Jesus right at that moment. Look at verse 26. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to the disciples, "Sit here while I go and pray over there." And He took with Him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee. And He began to be sorrowful and deeply distressed. Then He said to them, "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here and watch with me." So here they are in the garden, literally called depression. And Jesus tells them his soul is sorrowful, even to death. He knew what was about to happen to him. He was faced with the biggest storm of his life, and he was depressed about it. I mean, come on, who wouldn't be? How many of us can relate to that one? I was crushed last week when my friend passed away, not only did my buddy and one of my biggest confidants pass on, but dang, that changes things in my life now. Who am I going to confide in now that my buddy's gone? Who's going to be able to take his place? It's terrible. It's depressing. But even though Jesus was brokenhearted and depressed about his situation, the biggest takeaway is really what he did about it. Look at verse 39. He went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "Oh, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." Now, let's park right there a moment because I want to talk about it. You see, Jesus knew that this was beyond himself. He understood the journey and he understood his purpose. Imagine, if you can, being at the base of a huge dam. Try to imagine how you would feel if all of a sudden you started hearing cracking and popping. You began to hear the dam crack and break right in front of you. Your heart would drop dead in fear and anxiety. That's how Jesus felt at Gethsemane also. But what did he do? He prayed and released it to the Father. He said, "Let this cup pass from me, but not as I will, but as you will." Guys, we must remember that as Christians, you relinquish your rights to your own future. You have signed your life over to the hands of God and have given him the rights to change everything in your life he needs to so that his will can be done, not my will, but yours. There are a couple things we need to understand about storms to help us survive when they hit also. Number one is sometimes God diverts the storm, but sometimes he understands that we need to go right through the storm so he can be revealed in the middle to strengthen our faith. When we survive the storm, we then have to ask ourselves, well, what did we learn from that storm? What can I carry with me through for the next storm? When we learn that trusting in God's will is a survival necessity, it prepares us to trust in him during the next storm. We know that we will make it out alive. Now, we may not be the same person we were before the storm, but you can guarantee we are who he needs us to be after the storm. The second thing we need to understand when storms hit is that God is doing way more than you realize during the storm. If we focus on ourselves more than focusing on God, we suffer worse because we just see things being removed and we feel separated from God. But listen to me. He's not done with you yet. You understand? Let him finish. When he's done, you will know, and you will have gained faith to carry you through the next storm. You know it's going to be okay. Jesus knew the storm was much bigger than himself. He knew that in order to fulfill his purpose, he had to endure the path God had for him, and he trusted him, and now he is glorified for eternity. As this week moves forward, keep in mind that God is in complete control of your life. He will never leave you nor forsake you. He's already changed you, so now it's time that he changes the things around you so that you can be successful in fulfilling his will. May his Holy Spirit comfort us in the storm and lead us through our everyday so we can display a contentment and a posture of faith that can only be given by God. May our stature be one of peace and mercy for others as he has provided for us. May he love us and keep us and guide us in his word. May God bless us always. God bless you guys, and may God bless us all. Have a wonderful rest of the week.